Welcome back to this week's budget builds. This week we're going to be working on this Hummer here. We're going to be doing a basic tune-up and changing the spark plug, the coil boots, and doing a throttle body cleaning on this. Okay, so to start off with taking the spark plug wires out, we're going to want to get this intake tube off. We're just going to be using a little driver to get these band clamps off. On these Hummers, their throttle bodies like to get real nasty and run a little funny. So after those band clamps are loose, you just kind of pull it out. So it just pops off like that. So if you look in here, this is going to be your throttle body. It's got some nasty stuff from the PCV valve. Bunch of buildup. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean it up and get all that junk off there. We're going to start by taking these coils off. There's going to be 5 of them. This is an inline 5 in a Hummer. This first one's a little hard to get to. The wiring harness is in the way. We're going to go ahead and start with the second one back. Be careful not to break them off. Okay, so we got all these broken loose. We're going to start by gently taking off the wires going to them. Over time they can get brittle, so be very careful not to break them. What you're going to do is you're just going to push about right there. Just kind of wiggle it off. Just like that. Got all these pigtail connectors off. And we're going to start removing these completely. So that's completely out. It's not going to come all the way out unless you unthread it, and it's kind of pointless, but you're just going to gently pull it up. Should come out just like that. This is the coil. This is what's going to give your spark plug power. It's going to up the voltage, so your spark plug can get the right voltage to jump the little gap on there and ignite your air fuel mixture in the engine. We're going to be replacing these boots too. They should just pop off. They have like little springs in them. That's what kind of grabs the spark plug. It's hard to see down in there, but the spark plug just goes up in there, presses against that spring, and that's how it comes in contact with the coil. So we're going to do that to the rest of them. We're going to be using these boots from Rock Auto. All you do is they're going to slip right on. They're OEM parts, nothing special about them. So we got one of these boot kits off for the coils. It comes with a little gasket here to replace. Comes with a boot. And it comes with the little spring that goes inside of it. We're just going to put a little dielectric paste in here. This is going to make sure that there's good contact from the spark plug into the spring to the coil. It wouldn't hurt to put a little in here just to keep everything lubed up and from seizing up. On certain cars you don't want to put too much because this dielectric paste will heat up and it'll actually pop off from the spark plug. So now that we have the spring in here, we're just going to slide it back onto the coil. pops up around that lip. Here's what our old one looks like. Here's what our new one looks like. Now it looks like for the gasket, let's pull the old one off and just push the new one on. It's going to make sure water, moisture doesn't get down in there and corrode everything. I'll also be putting the link in the description for these boots, the boot kits. I'll be putting the spark plug stuff in there too if you're wanting to do this on your Hummer. But really, this technique applies for any type of vehicle with these overhead coils. Older traditional hot rods are going to be like our truck and have the coil or the distributor in the back and have the spark plug wires coming from them. But nowadays, instead of the distributor, we have a coil for every spark plug wire. Taking the spark plug wires out, I got an extension on a ratchet and I got a spark plug socket. This is a 5/8 socket on here. Just put it on and you don't want to break them. Here's your old plug. Alright. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the rest of them out. Okay, so we have all the spark plugs out. There's going to be 5 of them. These are the original ones. They're pretty nasty looking, so we're going to go ahead and replace them. So we have our auto light spark plugs here. They're double platinum. They're nothing too special, but we got 5 of them here. What we're going to do is we're going to install them. Okay, so we got all our spark plugs threaded in. We're going to tighten it down. You want to be careful not to move the socket around too much and crack the porcelain on the spark plug. So they'll just stop. You just want to snug them up. Not too tight, but just kind of snug them all up. We have the rest of them in. After I got them all in, I'm going to go through and just double check that they're all snugged up. And they look good. We got all our spark plugs in and we got them tightened. What we're going to do is we're going to throw these coils back on, tighten these up, and give the throttle body a clean, and throw everything back together and start it up, see how it runs. So in order to get this middle coil on, we had to remove the throttle body. I can't get everything lined up with it all being there in the way. This throttle body has a spacer on it, so that's what was getting in the way. So to make it easy, I went ahead and unbolted it. We're gonna have to unbolt it anyways, so we can do the cleaning on it. We got our throttle body removed and out of the way. We're gonna go ahead and tighten up all of our coils. So we'll be removing the throttle body connections. You'll be careful not to break these. I like to get a flat head and kind of work it between, just like that. It comes right off. We also disconnected this little quick disconnect. That's for coolant to go up in here and warm up your throttle body. We got our throttle body off. It's real dirty. We're just going to take some starting fluid. You can use starting fluid, brake clean, anything really. You can see how it just takes away all that stuff. It's a bunch of carbon buildup. Take one of our rags. Just get in there and clean all that nasty stuff. It's going to be real important to either disconnect this or disconnect the battery. I don't like disconnecting the battery because when you disconnect the battery, the computer loses its throttle position and it runs a little bit funny afterwards. It's going to run funny either way, but just because it's used to all this buildup and it's kind of self-tuned itself out of it, and when we throw it at it, it's going to be having to relearn a little bit. But if you don't disconnect this and you're in here working with the throttle body and someone starts the key, this is an electric throttle body, so whenever they hit the key, it'll automatically go completely shut, and if your finger's in there, it can take your finger off. There has been people in dealerships and stuff like that that's lost their finger from this. We got our throttle body cleaned here, wiping it out the best we can just to get all that carbon buildup out of there. We're gonna throw it back on and start it up. So we're tightening up this throttle body here. So cleaning the throttle body is going to make sure that the airflow stays good and you don't have a bunch of carbon building up on it, restricting the airflow. It'll give you like a rough idle. It can die sometimes if it gets bad enough. Anytime you take the throttle body off, you're gonna wanna replace the gasket. So we got it all tightened up. We're gonna take the connector, make sure it snaps on and doesn't pull off. We're gonna take our coolant connector, clip it on and make sure that doesn't come off. It clipped, just like that. Make sure all these are on there. We're gonna throw our intake pipe back on. Make sure to keep up or connect the PCV valve. All the clamps are tight. And we should be ready for a fire up. Everything back together and we'll see how it sounds. Start up after doing that throttle body clean, it may run a little bit rough just because the computer's gonna have to relearn its position and everything. So here we go. So we're just going to do a little pull up to the speed limit. We're in at 55 right now and I'm doing about 35. That's up to about 65, almost 70. Wrapped up this episode of our budget builds. We did a little tune up on the Hummer. Leave it in the comments below if there's anything that you guys want to see in the future. Today I actually placed the order with Phytech, and all our fuel injection and our fuel line and that entire kit is going to be on its way here soon. They told me it was on back order, so it may be a few weeks, but look forward to that in some future episodes. Let me know in our email, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, anything that you guys want to see in the future videos. Throw out some ideas, and that wraps up this episode of our budget builds. Thank you.